Civilization 7 has one of the worst map generators that I have ever seen in the series. Civilization 3 is one of my favorite Civilization games, and I wish to see that the series would continue to develop within the style of the classic games with continued refinement. I don't like this idea that we gotta, overthrow every single element of the game that made them great. Just iron out the parts that weren't great. But apparently, they have not been doing a very good job of that since Civilization 5, in my opinion. Civilization 6, had its issues, but I think was a return to form somewhat. Even though it wasn't exactly what I wanted, it was accommodating. I was accommodating to it. Civilization 7's maps, in particular, are really bad. Look at these Civilization 3 maps here. Look at the lakes. Look at the islands. There's no stupid distance lands mechanic here. They have railroaded the game into becoming a multiplayer game. Multiplayer is okay. I have no problem with that. But the game is still inherently a single player experience. It is probably one of the biggest open world games there is, even though it's a bird's eye view and not a first person or third person perspective. Now, I don't really understand why people say you shouldn't compare this game to, Civilization 7 to what came before, but we always do that. You're just saying that because you're angry that I'm criticizing Civilization 7. Yes, Civilization 3 grew up was made in a time where gameplay of making games, the workflow in companies was different. But still, the games are relatively the same. You have a settler, you build a city, you build units, you engage diplomacy. The earlier Civ games seemed to really like the idea of demographics. I loved that because it gave the game a sense of scale, not just building city states on the map. And these bodies of water you see here in Civilization 7 are atrocious. When I really noticed it, I was enjoying the game for a bit. But then as time went on, I realized that these bodies of water, the coastline, look like hexes. You look at Civilization 3, this is a 2001 game, and it has more interesting terrain than a game that would come later. And people saying you shouldn't compare that, well, you're just saying that because you don't like me criticizing the game. This is the same style of gameplay. This isn't a huge change in gameplay. If you were going to tell me, well, Wasteland 1 from 1986 or 1987 and Wasteland 2, well, I would expect there would be quite some changes, right? But when we're talking about after the sixth generation consoles, you see a solidification of how people make games, how games look. I do kind of expect a certain degree of refinement, some change, but you can't just say, well, you can't compare that game. Well, of course, it's in the same, it's Civilization 7. Civilization 3 came before it. So why shouldn't I compare it? Civilization 7, as I stated in a previous video, is the worst in the series, and I stand by that. I don't care if people downvote it or not. The game is shallow. And look at these waters. Look at the bodies of water. I love the sea. I love the oceans in the game. In real life, I don't really like the oceans that much, but in this game, I do enjoy them. And while it looks nice graphically speaking, it's really bad generation. They literally prevent you from having the ability to maybe do amounts, to have the Empire of Mali expedition to the New World. You can't even do that, really, in Civilization 7. You can't even take chances. They want everybody to do the same thing. It is not worth buying. Okay? So that's just my view on Civilization 7. Thank you for watching.